Discover how an unexpected invitation from a new maid transformed a millionaire's Christmas forever. Michael's mansion gleamed with opulence, each room a testament to his relentless ambition. Yet, wrapped in the cocoon of extravagant decor, he felt a chill of isolation. As invitations had gone out for his annual Christmas gala, he braced for the familiar cycle, guests masked in superficial pleasantries, laughter devoid of genuine warmth. Another year, another holiday where smiles were painted on, masking the hollow spaces that used to resonate with family banter. He polished his well-crafted image, but the realization gnawed at him. The people around him had become mere guests, each exchanging empty pleasantries over expensive champagne, avoiding the deeper currents of connection that once defined his life. It was amid this preventable chaos that Rosa entered his world. A single mother from the Bronx, recently hired as a maid, her easy laughter echoed with an authenticity that jolted him. She offered a homemade invitation to a simple Christmas gathering in her modest apartment, which struck him like a spark in the darkness. Why would she want to celebrate in a way so devoid of lavishness? He dismissed her invitation with a sigh, bristling under the discomfort her warmth ignited. Yet as guests swirled around him, he found himself oddly drawn to her, unable to shake the contrast she posed to his structured existence. As Christmas approached, the weight of his professional life pressed unbearably on his shoulders, a cacophony of meetings demanding more from him than he was willing to give. Each dialogue with powerful figures felt like chains binding him tighter to a gilded cage. He wrestled with feelings of inadequacy. The gnawing void within echoed louder than the laughter hanging in the air. He hesitated to let anyone in, especially Rosa, fearing her honesty might expose the fragility of his carefully curated world. The internal turmoil churned, simmering close to the surface, a cocktail of envy and yearning mixing with an immediate sense of decision. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The night of the gala arrived, sparkling with all the excess he could muster. Yet clouds gathered outside, and as snowflakes began to fall, a blizzard engulfed the city. Guests were trapped. Luxurious furnishings and gourmet food contrasted starkly with the rising anxiety in the air. The laughter faded, revealing anxiety beneath the surface, tensions igniting as the night wore on. Michael watched as the glittering facade his life embodied crumbled beneath the weight of snow, forcing a confrontation with each person who had once fit comfortably into his phantasmagoric realm of wealth. Heart-pounding, he wandered into the kitchen where he found Rosa decorating a small Christmas tree, festooned with handmade ornaments. Intrigued, he listened as she shared stories of her own holiday traditions, full of raw emotion and nostalgia. Each ornament, every word she spoke, cut through the pretenses that had enveloped him for years, reminding him of love once cherished, connections that used to matter. As the guests shifted in place, their conversations faltering under the strain of realization, Michael felt colliding worlds, his privilege standing against Rosa's meaningful simplicity. He faced a choice as the night deepened. Allow the facade to sever further, revealing the ache for true connection, or retreat into the cold arms of isolation where he had found comfort before. The blizzard outside raged on, trapping him in a moment laden with uncertainty, the clock ticking towards the decision that would determine who he might become. With every tick of the clock, Michael's heart raced faster, each beat echoing the paradox of his life. He felt the weight of expectations pressing down, the gilded cage he had built around himself clashing violently with the warmth radiating from Rosa's simple stories. The allure of her authenticity began to take root in his mind, unraveling layers of his constructed persona and revealing a man who ached for something deeper, something real. "Why do we do this?" he suddenly asked, breaking the thick silence that enveloped them. The question hung in the air like the scent of cinnamon and pine, momentarily disarming. Rosa paused in her decorating, her fingers resting on a handmade ornament shaped like a heart, her gaze lifting to meet his. "Do what?" she asked, her voice steady but soft, as if sensing the weight behind his words. "This, all of this." He gestured vaguely towards the gala, the extravagant spread of food, the glittering decorations. "What are we really celebrating? Does any of it mean anything?" Her brow furrowed, and she turned her body fully toward him. "I think it means more than we realize. Celebrating is about connection, community, sharing what you have, even if what you have isn't much." He clenched his jaw. The truth in her words was like a knife, cutting through the fabric of his carefully curated life. He had sacrificed connection for success, exchanged laughter for pretense, and in this moment, the isolation felt unbearable. Laughter echoed from the other room, shallow and empty, a stark contrast to the authenticity that Rosa embodied. The escalating storm outside mirrored the turmoil within him. His pulse quickened, the blizzard challenging him to reassess everything he valued. "Your invitation," he allowed the words to flow, though they felt foreign leaving his lips. "Why did you invite me to your home?" "It just felt right," she replied, as if her answer was as self-evident as the lights shining outside. "You might have everything, but I thought maybe you were looking for something more." Here in the dim light of the kitchen, he found the vulnerability he had hidden for so long surfacing, an impulse urging him to strip away the layers of affluence to reveal the man beneath. He felt his walls begin to crack, but the thought of what his guests might think, what they would say, held him back. "Rosa, there's a risk in being open with people. They can hurt you. They can betray you." His voice was thick with the weight of his experience, the scars he bore from broken trust. "Or they can love you," she countered gently. "You won't know unless you let them." He looked into her eyes, those deep pools of sincerity that seemed to pull him closer. It was as if she could see right through the polished exterior, peeling back layers with every passing moment. The roar of the storm outside transformed into a symphony of yearning in his chest. Here stood a woman who had built her life from the ground up, one who remained open despite the many chances to close off. Perhaps I could help set up your gathering," he found himself offering, an instinctive response to the urge swelling within him. Rosa smiled, a flicker of delight igniting in her eyes. "Really? That would be wonderful. I promise it won't be overly extravagant. Just a few neighbors, some food, and good company." As he nodded, a renewed determination blossomed within. This wasn't just about helping her. It was a lifeline thrown during a harsh storm. The idea of stepping away from his self-imposed isolation felt liberating, tinged with a hesitance that whispered of the risks involved. Outside, the wind howled as if urging him on, calling him to embrace the uncharted waters of vulnerability. But as he committed to upwardly navigate this newfound path of connection, he could almost feel the presence of the guests within his mansion, their gazes heavy with judgment. Could a single choice lead him away from the illusion he had upheld for so long? The boundaries that separated his old self from the man he yearned to be began to dissolve as he considered the choices ahead. The clock continued to tick, propelling him onward. But with each decision came a haunting realization. What awaited him on the other side of this bold leap? Would he find solace and camaraderie, or would the weight of his past come crashing down in unforgiving tides? The moment of romantic burgeoning hung deliciously in the air, but the storm outside roared louder, a reminder that clarity could turn cold in a heartbeat. At that moment he realized the stakes had never been higher. Did he dare step into a world built on connection, or would he let fear confine him forever? As dawn broke, the storm outside began to reveal its aftermath. Branches tangled on the ground, flakes of snow jettisoning from roofs, and a tranquility settling over the once storm-tossed landscape. Michael awoke with a gnawing uncertainty, the events of the previous night swirling in his mind like the remnants of the tempest outside. He had opened a door, but what awaited him beyond it felt daunting. He dressed methodically, but each action felt like a performance, a relic of the man he was rather than a reflection of who he wanted to become. Looking in the mirror, he caught a glimpse of himself, the well-groomed facade, the crisp suit, the calculating eyes of a man who had, until now, defined himself by career and success. The body looking back was one he hardly recognized, cloaked in societal validation, yet devoid of true satisfaction. The thought of helping Rosa stirred something inside him. He had made a promise, albeit one steeped in trepidation. The echoes of her words played over in his mind. "You won't know unless you let them." A pivotal choice had formed, the potential of which felt utterly exhilarating yet terrifying. What if he stripped away the gilded image even for a moment and embraced authenticity? Choosing to step out into the day, the air crisp against his skin, Michael felt tentative. He hadn't felt this alive in years. A mix of fear and anticipation tingled in his core. He drove to Rosa's neighborhood, the winding streets lined with snow-blanketed trees that emitted an air of community he had long forgot. The picturesque scene contrasted sharply with his sterile, isolated mansion. Arriving at her home, he found Rosa unearthing boxes of decorations, her fingers deftly creating an atmosphere that felt welcoming and alive. "Michael, you made it!" Her enthusiasm was infectious, an antidote to the doubts clinging to his mind like stubborn frost. "Just thought I'd help," he offered, a hint of uncertainty lingering in his tone. As they began hanging ornaments and arranging the table, Michael found himself intently observing her process, her ease in movement and the laughter she shared with neighbors arriving to lend a hand. There was respect and a camaraderie that felt foreign, yet inviting. Each interaction wove a tapestry of connection that began to thaw the icy walls around his heart. "What's the first thing you decorate for?" he asked, curiosity breaking the surface. "The tree," she responded simply. "It stands as a reminder of how we can all come together, branching out and supporting one another. Just like us, it grows in different directions, but remains rooted in love." Her words resonated deep within him, questioning the very structure of his own life. He had carefully cultivated a mighty tree, but its roots felt detached from any real connection. He hesitated, grappling with the notion that all he had built might really be a facade, devoid of the warmth that he craved. The laughter in the room grew, each moment intensifying his awareness of the stark contrast between Rosa's world and his own. Here decor didn't matter, relationships did. He realized that he had more to contribute than mere financial support. He possessed the ability to engage, to care, to be vulnerable, but he had long buried that desire beneath layers of ambition and status. As dusk approached and the glow of the fairy lights began to reflect off Rosa's joyful face, Michael faced an inner awakening. Was building connection his true calling? Could he break free from the relentless pursuit of admiration and embrace a life rich with substance? The thought both thrilled and terrified him. "I used to think success was about what I could achieve, how much I could accumulate," he admitted quietly, watching her hang the last ornament. "But now, after seeing this, I'm not so sure." Rosa paused, her eyes meeting his, a spark of understanding passing between them. "It's never too late to start redefining what success means to you." He gulped, emboldened yet fearful. With every gesture of festivity around them, the decision to lean into authenticity loomed over him. The weight of his past felt like a shadow, and yet the light surrounding Rosa beckoned him to make a choice that could forever alter his existence. As the night unfolded and laughter danced in the air, he knew something seismic was shifting within him. Would he have the courage to fully step into this new paradigm of his life, or would the fear of vulnerability still rule him? The clock continued to tick, the stakes rising. Would he embrace this newfound perspective, or would doubt hold him back once again? A deeper inquiry emerged, the kind that demanded he confront the very essence of who he believed he was. Michael stood in the doorway of Rosa's living room, the vibrant flames of the fireplace flickering against the walls, echoing the warmth he struggled to comprehend. It was an unfamiliar sensation, this connection growing between him and the simplicity of human interaction. Yet, even as he absorbed the merriment around him, His heart weighed heavier with the dawning realization that this newfound awareness came at a cost, one that required an examination of his life, choices, and aspirations. "What's next?" he heard himself ask, unaware of the hesitance thickening his words. Engaging with people, especially those who expected little beyond authenticity, felt risky, yet intoxicating too. "Next, we bake cookies for the neighbors," Rosa responded, her eyes gleaming with a light akin to the decorations surrounding them. "It's all part of creating community. Want to help?" A part of him wavered. Baking. In his world, efficiency and professionalism dictated sterile environments, not flour-covered countertops and laughter echoing with every satisfied sizzle from the oven. But then again, was that really what he wanted? An existence more geared towards avoidance than contribution? "Sure, why not?" he replied, surprising himself with the spontaneity of his decision. As flour danced through the air and Rosa sang familiar holiday tunes, he sensed flickers of joy asserting themselves within him. Measuring out chocolate chips, he started to appreciate the synergy between simplicity and contentment. The kitchen was alive, not with the hum of high-tech appliances but with shared moments, unreliable predictions regarding oven temperatures, and the beauty of natural mischief. Yet as he laughed at Rosa's playful gestures of mischief, like tossing flour at him mid-sentence, his mind couldn't help but wander back to his meticulously crafted life. Inside his high-rise office, success was calculated by numbers and accolades. Here, it was captured in spontaneous laughter and the warmth of human connection. The disparity unsettled him further, prodding a deeper inquiry into the very fabric of his existence. "Michael?" Rosa's voice cut through his reverie, a tender questioning tone beckoning him back to the moment. "What do you want from this season? What does it mean to you?" His heart quickened. It should have been a simple question, casually posed, but it struck like a chord reverberating through his mind. What indeed? In pursuit of his so-called success, Michael had equated happiness with wealth, accolades, prestige. But that notion felt childish in the face of genuine connection. As he pondered, the familiar defenses began to mount, whispers of the past urging retreat back into a carefully curated image. "I want," he stammered, grappling to voice thoughts that felt buried under layers of years focused purely on ambition. "I think I want to be understood, maybe." The admission startled him, each word unearthing something he had locked away beneath years of calculated decisions. Rosa smiled knowingly. "Understanding requires openness, Michael. None of us are perfect. If we wait until we are, we may miss the best moments of our lives." The words settled like sediment, muddy yet rich with potential. At that moment he questioned the very foundation of his identity. Perhaps the ability to connect was itself a form of achievement. A true measure of success revealed in how well he could relate to those around him, stripped bare of pretense. As the glow from the oven painted shadows across the room, Michael felt fissures forming in the walls he had erected over the years. The prospect of change began to unfurl within him, both exhilarating and terrifying. He longed to escape the shell of perception that had suffocated him for far too long. Cookie sheets crowded the table, yet his thoughts were consumed with the deeper implications of what Rosa had posed. What if understanding was not just a one-way street? What if accepting vulnerability could unlock new doors? The challenge teased at his core, leaving him teetering on the brink of realization. In the quiet that followed, his gaze fell upon the twinkling lights outside, signs of hope and rebirth amidst the winter chill. Today's joy whispered promises that could scar or heal. Just as he lifted a cookie, something within him trembled with a sense of urgency. The night still lay ahead, and as laughter bubbled in the corners of the kitchen, a thought invaded. Would he truly commit to this path of vulnerability, or would he falter back into retreat? The stakes were higher than ever, and the night promised revelations. In a life dominated by reflection and ambition, could he dare to embrace risk, step fully into this burgeoning transformation? Or would he let it slip away as mere folly? Michael stood frozen, the cookie still in hand as Rosa's words resonated in his mind. They were simple yet profound. igniting a flicker of awareness that conflicted with everything he thought he understood about success. He felt a tightening in his chest, an unexpected mixture of fear and exhilaration. The laughter around him might just be a harbinger of change, yet he grappled with the weight of the familiar life calling him back. The life built on certainty, efficiency, and accomplishment. He forced his gaze away from the festive lights outside, wondering if they'd overshadowed the dimness he'd grown accustomed to. The smooth surface of his professional existence seemed impervious to the messiness here in Rosa's home. Even in this moment of play, he felt as if fingers pressed against the walls protecting his heart, preventing any real engagement. "Want to help decorate some cookies?" Rosa's jovial voice pulled him back, and he noted her gentle confidence, unconditional in a world full of pretenses. "Sure," he replied, though the word tasted foreign on his tongue. As he set down the cookie and picked up a spatula, he recalled how he had slipped away from impulsiveness, cloaked himself in calculated decisions, and driven toward tangible achievements. A bachelor's degree, a plush corporate job, awards. Yet none of it held a candle to the brightness of laughter that fluttered around him now. With each swirl of icing he attempted to spread across the cookie, he realized part of him yearned to overreach, to pour everything he was into something more substantial than accolades. Could he weave this newfound joy into the fabric of his identity? Was it possible to enchant his life with wonder rather than formulas? Rosa noticed his hesitance and touched his arm. "We're making memories, Michael. This matters more than any cookie we could create." "Can you even be successful without money?" The question slipped out, laced with a tightness he hadn't meant to convey. "Sometimes success is found in love and laughter. People will remember how you made them feel, not just what you accomplished." The sincerity in her eyes dignified her words, drawing the lines of his professional life into question. Her comment stirred something dormant within him. Long shunned, the desire for connection battled with the remnants of his guarded persona. Struggling with an internal dialogue, he scanned the kitchen, catching sight of a half-frosted cookie. The imperfections felt liberating, an echo of authenticity that slipped past his logical defenses. He closed his eyes briefly, catching his breath. This simple act of expression became an anchor. The cookie may not turn out perfect, but it could still be beautiful through shared laughter, joy, and perhaps understanding. "What if I want to break through?" he muttered to himself, more than anyone around him. The realization crashed into his consciousness like a wave. The layers of his life had been built on a foundation that had begun to feel flimsy. Was it possible he had the power to remake himself, to embrace vulnerability in the pursuit of embracing true human connection? As the cookies piled up, shaped into whimsical figures adorned with frosting, the air thickened with anticipation. The unspoken words lingered between him and Rosa, the enormity of possibilities shimmering just out of reach. He needed to take action, step fully into this uncomfortable territory. "What's the first step?" he asked, not entirely expecting a response. "Letting go," she said, her expression steady and encouraging. "What's holding you back? What do you fear losing?" The inquiry sliced through him, a precise examination of the barriers he had built, the rationalizations he wore like armor. Could he unravel those fears? Embrace the unknown path unfurling before him? As if to answer his silent question, a sudden burst of laughter erupted from Rosa and her younger brother entering the room, flour-coated and horrified at their own mess. Michael felt laughter rise within him, something so simple yet transformative. In that moment he caught a glimpse, a realization teetering on the brink of clarity. It wasn't just cookies and cheer, but the very essence of being human. He was ready to confront the truth that had taunted him all along. The night pressed on, challenging him further as they sat around the table surrounded by improvised decorations and the smell of fresh cookies. Would he spend another Christmas smothered in expectations? Or could he carve a niche for himself? A new path illuminated by connection, discovery, and, ultimately, acceptance. With the cookies cooling on the counter and laughter ringing through the air, a weight shifted within him, unveiling what lay ahead. A decision loomed larger than life itself. Unmistakably, the moment had come to confront not just the world outside, but the world within. As he looked around the room, Michael knew he was hovering on the precipice, time ticking and urging him toward an answer. Would he allow the allure of vulnerability to guide him? Or would he retreat into the steadfast yet lonely embrace of success, strewn with accolades? Michael's fingers trembled slightly as he adjusted the icing on the cookie, each deliberate swirl reflecting the turbulence simmering within him. The table was cluttered with a mix of vibrant sprinkles and frosting tubes, symbols of creative freedom that felt alien yet intoxicating. For so long he had equated success with meticulous planning, but now, standing beside Rosa in her chaotic kitchen, a new paradigm was unfolding before him. What if I actually let myself feel? He pondered, his mind racing. The laughter swirling around him and the mess they were making brought a sense of profound contradiction. The structured life he clung to had offered stability but seemed to be swimming in a sea of superficiality. A cookie wasn't merely a baked good. It represented spontaneity, imperfection, and shared joy, the very essence he had neglected. Quietly, Michael began to question what he had sacrificed in pursuit of what he believed was success. Was it worth the constant pursuit of perfection? As he reached for another half-frosted cookie, he caught Rosa's eye. There was an unspoken connection in the air, a spark inviting him to share more than just the moment. It was a nudge, an invitation to peel back his layers and step into the vulnerability that awaited him. "Michael, will you tell me about one of your dreams?" Rosa asked, her voice playful yet genuine. Dreams. The word echoed in his mind, stirring memories long buried beneath the rubble of his corporate ambitions. He hesitated, searching for the right words that felt true enough to utter. "I used to want to travel the world," he confessed, his voice softer than he intended. "I imagined myself walking through markets in Marrakesh, watching the sun set over the ocean in Santorini. But I got busy, lost in work, chasing metrics. The dream faded." Rosa's expression shifted to one of encouragement. "Then why not revive it? What's stopping you?" The question crashed into him like a sudden downpour. What was stopping him? The fear of the unknown clawed at his insides. Questions of worthiness and the remnants of judgment crept back into his mind. Could he truly justify setting aside the weight of expectations he had built his life around? "I don't know where to start," he admitted, glancing down at the cookie in his hand as if it held the key to his uncertainties. The simple act of icing had chipped away at his defenses, exposing cracks of raw desire. Rosa's brother had resumed a flower fight nearby, laughter ringing out. And in that moment Michael glimpsed the vitality he craved. The idea took root in him, the possibility of embracing imperfection not just in cookies but in life. "What if I decided to take a trip?" he pondered aloud, the words tasting exhilarating and terrifying. "What if I just went?" "That sounds like a great start." "A little adventure," Rosa encouraged, her eyes shimmering. Adventure. The word rolled off his tongue, igniting a spark of excitement that flickered in the pit of his stomach. But what if it doesn't work out? What if I mess up? Again? Guess what? You will, but that doesn't make the adventure any less valid. Rosa's bluntness jolted him, forcing a moment of clarity. Her perspective was simple yet disarming. She had no reservations about embracing life's unpredictability. The laughter around him began to fade as Michael immersed in his internal debate. The allure of leaving behind the relentless pursuit of success clashed violently with the urge to retreat into his comfort zone, where logic ruled and timeliness was expected. He felt the walls closing in, and yet the warm essence of Rosa's encouragement seeped into him, urging him to push against those boundaries. "Let yourself go, Michael. Life doesn't always come with instructions," Rosa added, squeezing his arm gently. Suddenly, it became clear. The fear of failure, the obsession with control, the need for validation from others were the barriers he had systematically built. A surge of determination blossomed within him, igniting a vision of what life could be if he dared to step outside his comforts. What if I did take that trip? What if I embraced all the mess and uncertainty? Michael's heart raced with possibility. It was a notion both terrifying and exhilarating, yet more real than he had allowed himself to imagine in years. The laughter around the room felt like an incantation, stirring his senses to life. With the cookies laid out in a vibrant display before him, he pondered a major decision that loomed ever larger. It was time to confront the inherent fear within him and carve out a truth distinctly of his own. Would he lean into this newfound realization of potential? Or would the weight of regret overpower the whisper of adventure beckoning him forward? He locked eyes with Rosa, a palpable tension swirling in the air. Just then, amidst the flower-covered chaos, he heard her brother's playful challenge ring out. "Let's see who can make the goofiest cookie." The moment hung in balance, and with a rush of excitement, Michael took a deep breath, realizing that to accept the invitation for adventure, he had to be willing to be goofy, imperfect, and altogether unrefined. As laughter erupted around him once more, Michael smiled, any lingering hesitations igniting a fire within. The adventure was not just outside. It lay within him. A choice, a journey to rediscover joy. In this newfound resolve, he was ready to take that first step into the unknown. But just as clarity washed over him, a voice inside whispered a haunting question. What would he lose and gain on this unpredictable path ahead? And was he truly prepared to face the life-changing consequences of stepping away from the safe confines of his well-structured existence? The flower flew through the air like a silent snowstorm as Michael picked up the spatula to create what Rosa had dubbed the goofiest cookie. But as the laughter enveloped him, the weight of his decision began to settle in, pressing down on his shoulders like an anchor. He didn't just want to paste icing on sugar. He wanted to rebuild something he had unconsciously destroyed, a part of himself that had glowed too brightly within the confines of financial reports and corporate meetings. Each swirl of icing became a metaphor, shaping a vision in his mind of what his life could resemble, a vibrant tapestry of experiences rather than a rigid framework of achievements. Michael felt raw, unrefined, and oddly relieved. He grasped the spatula with newfound determination, embodying the blend of chaos that had begun to resonate within him. "Okay, Michael, goofiest cookie, here I come," he declared, his voice carrying a hint of bravado, masking the flickering uncertainty still marinating inside him. The liberation felt intoxicating, as if he were tapping into an aspect long tucked away beneath expectations. For a fleeting moment, he was suspended in possibility. A fantastical world where he could escape the grips of judgment and failure. The upward shift of his spirit reminded him of those days when he would sketch out dream itineraries, while sipping coffee in a small Parisian cafe, before duty turned dreams into nothing more than idle thoughts. "Be wacky," he instructed himself, breaking from the constraints he bore in professional life. Michael mixed colors, layering vibrant icing atop each other in an explosion of chaotic beauty. With every deliberate but carefree movement, he teased out wonder from the mundane, daring each cookie to tell a story, his stories of aspiration and repressed desires. Rosa's laughter echoed around him, and that sound was a revelation. It merged seamlessly with his ambitions, inciting actions he once deemed foolish. "What if we declared this cookie the winner of the most likely to inspire travel?" she suggested, her eyes dancing with mischief. "Only if we team up for the next batch," Michael shot back, his heart racing as he felt the undercurrent of engagement between them deepen. Each playful exchange felt like an invitation to break free from more than just his doubts, but from societal norms he had internalized. But even amid spontaneity, shadows snaked through his mind, whispering doubts that had plagued him for years. What if he breached the walls of safety only to tumble into despair? What if stepping away from the corporate ladder redefined him as a failure? The stakes of his choices amplified each thought, igniting a fierce battle between his burgeoning desire for freedom and the fear of stepping onto uncharted territory. "Michael?" Rosa's voice cut through his spiraling thoughts. She looked at him with mischief in her gaze. "Would you dance with your goofy cookie on a trip around the world?" He laughed but felt a deeper resonance within the question. What if those goofy cookies represented not only adventure, but a chance to create something wholly his? To follow a path, regardless of how ridiculous it seemed, could lead to glorious discoveries about himself. Emboldened, Michael replied, "Why not? Let's make these cookies the launchpad for my dreams." The exhilaration surged through him, igniting a pulse of vibrant enthusiasm. And just as he was beginning to envision this new pathway unfurling before him, he felt a pang of gnawing unease. The realization that embarking on this journey would also mean dismantling the very identity he had spent years meticulously constructing. He turned his focus back to the cookies, but each one now felt like a potential fork in the road. Just then, her brother's voice broke free from the laughter, calling him over. "Michael, guess what? We're declaring a cookie contest. The prize is a trip of your choice." His breath caught. Amidst the cacophony, the audacity of his dreams collided with reality. What if this was his chance? A moment to choose the adventure and the risk, to stamp his own seal on life rather than let someone else define it. The heat in his chest intensified as he met Rosa's gaze again, igniting a deeper conversation lingering beneath the surface. The certainty and uncertainty wove together seamlessly. Trapped in the space between aspiration and the abyss of failure, are you ready to throw caution to the wind? Rosa's eyes sparkled with excitement and intrigue. It was a question that transcended the cookie competition, a question that lingered heavily in the air, binding their destinies. Michael was on the edge of a monumental choice, entangled in the vibrant chaos of creativity and profound possibility. "Maybe it's time I put my life to the test," he impulsively declared. "Letting go of the perfect plan might just be the trip I need to take." With those words, the stakes were set. The laughter faded back into the background, and Michael was left with the daunting certainty that his answer to life's invitation had only just begun to unfold. As he channeled new resolve, another thought pierced through the inaudible chatter in his head. But was he truly ready to leave the tether of perfection behind and embrace the liberating chaos of a path untraveled? The arena of flour and sugar swirled around him like a whirlwind, invigorating his senses as Michael plummeted into the sumptuous chaos of creativity. The jelly bean-dotted cookies took shape before him, remnants of his childhood dreams hardening into crisp realities. Yet, the thrill of surrendering to this playful side was laced with apprehension. Was he truly prepared to abandon the comfort of his meticulously planned life for the messy unknown? His heart raced with the potential presented by Rosa's brother's enthusiastic announcement. A cookie contest, with a prize that could whisk him away to foreign lands, was the crucible where he could either thrive or falter. Doubt twisted in his stomach. What would be the cost of failure? The specter of quitting his stable position loomed ominously, whispering nagging reminders of what success had always meant, the corporate accolades he had garnered, the prestige associated with authority. But was success itself an illusory construct? This thought sparked a fervent flame in his mind. He began to contemplate the very foundation of his aspirations. Were they his own, or simply inherited from a society that glorified cutthroat professionalism over authentic expression? As he blended bold colors into the icing, a mixture of hope and trepidation filled the air. Every stroke of his spatula a potential breakthrough. Rosa's laughter rang out, resonating with a contagious zest for life. Her enthusiasm for the competition seemed to unlock long-locked doors in his psyche. The idea of playful creativity overwhelmed him, ushering in memories of spinning tales of distant adventures devoid of boundaries, of gazing at the map of the world and wanting to touch every corner of it. "Michael, what's going to be our secret ingredient?" Rosa ventured, pulling him from his reverie. "Adventure," he replied, feeling alive with the challenge. A mischievous spark ignited within him. "Let's channel our travels into something unexpected, maybe a cookie that captures the essence of the places we've dreamed of visiting." Rosa grinned widely, eyes shimmering. "So we craft cookies that tell stories?" "Yes, each cookie a narrative reflecting a city, a culture, even a memory we want to cherish." It was exhilarating to imagine transforming simple desserts into whimsical artifacts of his journey, a bridge between his past confines and this newfound liberation. Yet, With each new idea came the constricting shadows of self-doubt wrestling for dominance. What if the cookies didn't draw the right kind of attention? What if nobody cared? They were just cookies after all. Briefly, he considered retreating to the safety of quiet anonymity, but something deep inside him resisted. It was time, he realized, to confront the harsh realities of those fears head-on. "Let's take a leap," he declared, an unexpected confidence bubbling in his chest as he seized ingredients with fervor. "I want to inspire people, make them remember what it feels like to dream." The indescribable rush of possibility engulfed him as he concocted his vision for the competition. It would encompass more than just flour and sugar. It would be a testament to reclaiming fragmented parts of himself. Rosa's laughter harmonized with the playful chaos surrounding them, breaking through the haze of doubt. "I guarantee this cookie will speak volumes, will carve out a new identity with every sprinkle." As they crafted, Michael felt the unsettling grip of uncertainty ebbing. The whimsical expedition was an assertion of self-discovery. In the middle of the chaos, he found a starker clarity about his ambitions, and the upcoming contest became not just an external challenge, but a profound internal confrontation with the narratives he had accepted for too long. By the time they placed the final cookies onto the baking sheet, the realization dawned on him that every bite could hold the essence of exploration, undeterred by the specter of past expectations. He stood there, amid cookie crumbles and icing squiggles, ready to embrace the unpredictable path ahead. But just then, a message flashed on his phone, alerting him of an unexpected meeting scheduled with his corporate firm. The choice loomed ominously before him: to stride into the meeting with the certainty of his newly found resolve, or succumb to the familiar pull of his former life. Michael stood at the intersection of creativity and obligation, grappling with a pivotal decision that would shape the direction of his journey. Could he balance the thrill of the contest with the demands of his corporate world, or was it the right moment to sever the ties tying him to his past? As the weight of his choices anchored deeper into his consciousness, he whispered to himself, "This is just the beginning." The reality of his uncharted future shimmered just out of reach, awaiting his next move. Michael's heart beat steadily, yet an echo of turmoil thrummed beneath the surface. The message from his corporate firm had been a jarring reminder of the duality of his life, one path paved with expectation, the other a vibrant tapestry of creativity. As he gazed at the cookies cooling before him, vibrant with color and potential, his mind raced with questions. Could he truly step into the unknown? Or would he return to the comfort of measured success, even if it felt increasingly constrictive? Standing in the kitchen, flour dust dancing in the sunlight filtering through the window, he felt a paradox emerge. The cookies he and Rosa had crafted were not mere confections. They were reflections of his newly ignited spirit. Each shape and color represented a facet of his aspirations: fear mixed with joy, liberation eclipsing confinement. Yet the imminent meeting loomed more significantly than ever, as an urgent reminder of what was at stake. Rosa seemed to sense his hesitation. "You're going to go, aren't you?" She posed the question, her tone insistent yet gentle, as if her words could anchor him amidst the swirling storm of indecision. "I don't know," Michael admitted, his voice shaky. "What if I go in there and realize I can't walk away? What if I'm not ready to let everything else go?" "What if you are?" she countered. "This meeting doesn't have to decide everything. What if it's just one step in a much bigger story? Remember what you said about adventure." Her words sparked something inside him, a flicker of resistance against the currents of fear tugging him back into the familiar. He needed to confront the corporate world one last time, not merely to uphold his obligations, but to transform that encounter into a redefinition of his ambitions. With a newfound gravity, he picked up the phone, fingers hovering over the screen. The corporate world demanded a part of him, yes, but it no longer defined him. As the chime signaled the start of an outgoing message, he felt momentum building, a current of resolve powering through him. "I'm going to the meeting," he stated firmly, securing a slight nod from Rosa. "But I refuse to forget why I'm doing this. It's not just a continuation of what I've always known. This is a stepping stone toward something greater. The thought emboldened him as he donned a crisp shirt and tie, the fabric a palpable reminder of both professionalism and the constraints he had grown weary of. Taking a deep breath, he stepped outside, the warmth of the sun touching his skin almost like an affirmation of his decision. As Michael navigated the glass-walled building that embodied stability and routine, self-awareness surged within him. Each step felt weighted with significance, reminding him of the contrast between his past and the burgeoning path he now embraced. Would they see him as their reliable number cruncher, or could they glimpse the creative spirit lurking beneath his corporate exterior? Entering the boardroom, he found familiar faces, the colleagues who deemed success in promotions, numbers, and yearly bonuses. They exchanged polite hellos, but he could sense their skepticism lurking, even in their smiles. The meeting commenced in the usual manner, reports on quarterly performance, future projections, the pressure of the bottom line. But as the discussion flowed, so did the realization that the conversations felt increasingly alien, devoid of the color and vibrancy he had just infused into his cookie creations. He hesitated, his pen poised above his notepad, ready to take notes on a world that no longer resonated with his spirit. As the conversation unfolded, Michael caught glimpses of his own aspirations reflected off the glass walls, the possibility of journeys yet to be embarked upon, and the voices of those yearning for authenticity in their professional lives. As he glanced around the room, a notion struck him with clarity. The script of his life was his to write. At that moment, amidst the figures and percentages, he began to draft a new equation, one that honored his creativity alongside his responsibilities, marrying the familiar with the unknown. But before he could voice his thoughts, the meeting took a sharp turn. A decision was to be made, a major project awaiting a lead, and the choice lay in the hands of the team's senior leadership. Michael felt the pressure mount. Did he step forward, claiming a space not just as a dutiful employee but as a catalyst for change? Or did he retreat back into the shadows, allowing the moment to pass, stifling the embers of his newfound resolve? As tension escalated, the unmistakable weight of choice pressed against him. In that pivotal instant, he felt the allure of the cookie competition pulling him with a ferocity he couldn't ignore. The moment had arrived. Would he dare to step into his truth? He opened his mouth to speak, but the sound of a ringing phone interrupted. Would he seize the moment and unravel the past? Or would he allow this opportunity to slip away once more, tethered to a life he was no longer certain he wanted? Michael stood at the crossroads of his life, the weight of unspoken decisions coiling tighter around him like a noose. The tension in the boardroom hung palpably in the air, but the laughter and warmth from Rose's kitchen lingered in his mind, a stark contrast to the sterile environment before him. A major project awaited a leader. The room turned to look at him, anticipating his input. "It's not just about numbers anymore," he blurted, jolted by the conviction swelling in his chest. The familiar faces of his colleagues turned toward him with a blend of curiosity and skepticism that felt like both a challenge and an opportunity. "Our work needs to resonate more deeply than just profits. We can create a narrative that celebrates our growth and the people behind our products." The whispers of shock floated through the room, but beneath the apprehension, Michael felt a flicker of possibility igniting. He was reclaiming his voice. The confident self he had borrowed from moments spent with Rosa thrummed vibrantly within him as he continued. "What if we actively engaged with our community? It's time we share our story, not just as a business, but as people. This project should reflect who we are, not just what we do." The silence that followed his words felt charged with electricity, as though others in the room shared an awakening triggered by his supernova of authenticity. Each colleague appeared engrossed, suddenly eyeing the confluence of creativity and pragmatism he offered. Two elements discarded in the pursuit of sterile outputs and cold estimates. One by one, the votes began to shift. The authenticity he imbricated into his argument sparked ideas, revealing unvoiced yearnings amongst his peers, who also craved a transformation. When the meeting wrapped, the concrete results were palpable. Approval for a collaborative initiative destined to redefine the project, and alongside it, a commitment from Michael to lead this charge. As he strode from the building that once felt like a gilded cage, freedom spurred within him. The moment was monumental. No longer was he clothed in corporate pretense. Rather, he was emerging as a new version of himself, embodying professional acumen intertwined with a heart yearning for genuine connection and depth. The path forward was filled with determination. The camaraderie in that boardroom fueled his soul. No longer would he chase empty accolades cloaked in regal suits. Instead, Michael embraced discomfort as he walked further away from sterile success, toward community engagement that celebrated diverse voices. When Michael returned to the warmth of the baking chaos in Rosa's kitchen, laughter wrapped around him like a snug hug. Here was the simplicity of connection, the very essence of life he craved. "I did it," he beamed as he joined the fray of flour and fondant. Each cookie they crafted became a celebration of dreams, a melting pot of ideas that encompassed both adventure and aspirations. "Baking after a big win?" Rosa teased, her smile illuminated by the glow of the sunlight streaming through the window. But beneath her levity existed a profound understanding, a reflection of the shared journey to open themselves to vulnerability and exploration. "Absolutely," he replied, actively folding ingredients together as metaphorical barriers began to dissolve. "And next, I think it's time for an adventure. A trip?" As they rattled off destinations, sunsets in Santorini, bustling markets in Marrakech, the tangible fear associated with leaving behind certainty dissipated, replaced by excitement. Voices filled the air, lush with possibility, sketching maps of a future drenched in vibrancy. For the first time in years, the utterly singular realization struck him. This transformation was his triumph, woven from every decision, every connection he allowed into his life. No longer simply defined by wealth, Michael reveled in a newfound clarity, a truth that self-worth flourishes in vulnerability rather than accolades. "Let's set a date." Rosa's enthusiasm wrapped around them like the sweet aroma of freshly baked cookies. The collective excitement smoothed over the edges of his past, gilding his commitment to himself. As they prepared to taste the cookies, each one brimming with character much like the journey ahead, Michael finally recognized the true gift of his transformation. The barriers of expectation had crumbled, the weight of impersonality lifted. He was free to delve into the awe of life, ready to embrace every experience. The cookies emerged from the oven, each golden creation bursting with warmth, ready to be shared, tasted, and experienced, much like the life he was poised to cultivate in entirety. He had conquered not just the corporate spaces he navigated, but transcended a personalized narrative that celebrated authenticity. No accolades or success could ever rival the satisfaction of having chosen connection, having dared to live vibrantly and truly. So as the laughter carried them forward into what lay ahead, Michael knew this was just the beginning of his adventure, a heart open to growth, discovery, and profound joy. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support for transformative narratives. Comment your reactions and theories about this powerful ending and how it resonated with your own life. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion and be encouraged to embrace their own journeys of authenticity. Don't wait even one more second to share. This is your moment to inspire others.